Some collectible items are worth a lot of money. Some may even have a backstory. But this collection includes important pieces of American history. Even still, these 19th century relics could be yours for the right price. Few Americans have captured our attention as much as Abraham Lincoln. More books have been written about Lincoln than any other American. And many of them are here at the Abraham Lincoln Bookshop in Chicago.
I really had a passion for history always.
While a good writer can bring history to life, a book on a shelf does not quite have the impact as the items Daniel Weinberg has collected for 4 decades. They can help bring us closer to the man.
Now I try to find his warts. I try to make him a person in front of me instead of a god of some sort.
Where do you want to do
I
this?
think we're going to go this way, please.
George Pod visits the Abraham Lincoln Bookshop to see if this family heirloom is as valuable as he thinks it is. What did you bring in here today?
Well, I have this picture that's been in the family forever. And my mother said, take care of this. Whatever you do is valuable.
Oh, yes. Well, this is what we know as the Gettysburg Lincoln. Look at that.
I just want to know the history behind the photo and the story behind it and possibly the value of it.
Alexander Hessler was a photographer here in Chicago on Lake Street.
When people ask Daniel Weinberg, what's new? They typically are referring to something very old. A new artifact brought in from a collector's show or a dusty attic.
That was taken by Alexander Gardner, and he was asked to take this photograph right up close.
Okay.
Because the Victorians wouldn't have done that.
Okay.
But a woman named Sarah Fisher Ames was a sculptress, and she needed to make a sculpture of Lincoln. He would not sit for it. So he went and got this photograph taken.
Daniel is very familiar with this image. He once owned the 19th century photographic glass plate from which it was printed.
What about the notes on the backside?
Well, let's see that. This is Mr. Lincoln's greatest picture, I agree. Not retouched, okay. It was taken.
We'll get back to George's picture to see how valuable it may be. Daniel sold that glass plate to a museum. He won't give an exact number, but its value is in the 6 figures. This early photography is the death of the death mask, as well as the life mask. Daniel, tell us what this is.
What we hear before us is a life mask in hands in bronze, taken from an early replica from the original. And so here is really the Illinois Lincoln, the hands. Now these were done right after he was nominated, and he was shaking so many hands that his right hand became swollen. He cut off, this is Lincoln, cut off a broomstick, whittled it down, and held it to try to mask that this was so bloated. And when you see the two together, you can see the veins in one,
Oh, yeah.
but not really in the other.
April 14th, 1865. John Wilkes Booth assassinates President Lincoln at Ford's Theater during the play Our American Cousin. Actress Laura Keene rushes to Lincoln's box to help a doctor. She cradles Lincoln's head on her dress.
Blood came down her costume. The next year, she came to Springfield, Illinois, and cut off a little piece of the dress, the costume, and they gave it to the state of Illinois. It had some of the blood going down. Then one came into the shop, and I said, is this real? And so I went down to Springfield, and I put it next to theirs. And not only was the cloth the same, everything was right, but my part of the blood coming down went right into theirs. My hair just stood up on that.
Daniel thinks there is also brain matter on the dress.
This is it right there.
And he's thought about doing DNA analysis to see if President Lincoln had Marfan's disease, which can affect the heart and skeletal system. Daniel says when Lincoln was assassinated, Secretary of War Stanton would not allow anyone to photograph the body.
Is there any photograph of Lincoln deceased?
One, because a enterprising photographer got in there and took photos from afar. And Stanton found out about it and had his minions go and grab all of them. He destroyed all of them save one. You can see this part of his face lifting out of the coffin.
Secretary of War Stanton buries the one print deep in his files, where it sits, lost to history for 87 years. That's when, in 1952, a teenager visiting the historic site of Lincoln's home in Springfield, Illinois, discovers it in a file.
Well, this is for the World's Fair in Paris in 1867. The fan that's inside here was a mourning fan.
It's made of aluminum, a precious metal in the 19th century.
And there have only been 4 of these that have ever come on the market. And then here's Lincoln with cherubs all around him. Wow. On the other side, here is Booth planning the deed, carrying it out, trying to get away, and shot in the Garrett's farm where he died there.
Value, at least $26,000.
This was also made for the defense of the woman. One of them was made for the South American market. And there was a little button here that you pushed up and a stiletto came out.
Wow.
And as well, they put right here, they had, this is aluminum again, a hinge where you could secrete poison in case you had to kind of put it into someone's drink when they weren't looking.
Huh.
What is the Holy Grail that you're looking for or has been unattainable?
Well, it's always been the Gettysburg Address draft that he used at the cemetery.
Daniel says Lincoln gave it to one of the debate organizers as a souvenir.
The family says that Lincoln sent it to them, but we don't know where it is. They don't know where it is. So that's the Holy Grail.
What would the original draft of the Gettysburg Address be worth?
I would say $25 million and up. There's nothing like it, and it's known worldwide.
His face is in focus, and the ears are out of focus.
Let's check back in to see what Daniel thinks of George's family heirloom, the Gettysburg Lincoln portrait.
It's a wonderful piece always, but unfortunately, I'm sorry to say that it really has, I guess I'm going to have to say, 0 market value, because there are others out there that are much nicer and closer to the original. The image is there, and that's about it.
Okay.
I'm sorry to say. Gardner?
I'm a little disappointed. I thought it was like an original, but it's a copy of an original, apparently. I'm appreciative that we spent the time to go through this and look at this and find the real story.
You know, there wouldn't be an Abraham Lincoln bookshop without the martyrdom of Lincoln, I think. He still would have been famous for his addresses and etc., but he was infused into our culture and beyond.
For more on Lincoln artifacts, you can visit alincolnbookshop.com.